Hello and welcome back to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of best practices with Dr. Christy Moore of Sonora Hearing Care in Tucson, Arizona. Dr. Moore, thank you for the second video so we can go over this.
Yeah, this is great. It's
Oh,
awesome.
fantastic. We had some great information last video, and so again, we're just wanting to continue the 10 best practices. This one,
Yes,
number 5 really caught my eye, which is select hearing aid features on the basis of treatment goals and not the audiogram.
right.
And I found that one
Yes.
interesting because I would just have assumed you were going to do all the settings on the results of the hearing and going, well, this is what they want to go for their goals. So please,
Yeah.
let's dive into this.
Let's explain this. Yeah, absolutely. So the audiogram and the hearing test or evaluation is super important because we have to have some way to measure how you actually hear tones and pitches. So how sensitive your hearing is, because that's how we program a hearing aid. That's how the hearing aid algorithm knows how much gain and volume to apply at the different frequencies for which we plug into the computer of the hearing aid. So we have to do that. But that's only one part of it. We also look at how well do they understand speech in quiet? How well do they understand speech with background noise, which is a real world type of situation. And then what are their goals? What areas are they having difficulty? Are they living mostly a quiet lifestyle or are they pretty active? Are they still working? Are they in conference rooms? Are they in restaurants? Are they in group settings? Because the more challenging listening environments that they have, even if they have a mild hearing loss, probably the more advanced features that hearing aid is going to need to have on how it analyzes speech that's coming in, or speech with noise, or music, or quiet sounds, or soft speech. So that's where sometimes looking at the audiogram or the hearing test, we might say, oh, you have a mild loss, or oh, you have a moderate loss. You probably don't need all these fancy features. When in reality, that's probably not the case. Just the same as if someone has a real severe loss, but they're not super active, they might be able to be fine with something that doesn't have as many of those advanced features, or maybe Bluetooth or something like that isn't, necessary for them either. So it's looking at more than just the audiogram. It's really looking at their lifestyle and what their individual goals are for hearing better in the areas where they want to hear.
At this point, I'm just a revolving record and message of going. It
Yep,
really comes down to those relationships, right? Because
it really
you're going to
does.
learn about your clients pretty intimately, like how they use
Yeah,
it, what their lifestyle is like, whether
yep,
they are in big crowded situations, if they go out to eat a lot, or if they are more of a
right.
homebody, or if they have
Yep,
grandkids and the grandkids are loud and everybody's talking at once
exactly.
because they have 20 grandkids, or
Right.
somebody who's just hanging out with their husband and well, he may talk too much and you can turn him off a little bit. Um,
Well, that's right. Just like, well, there's no secret. You and I are loosely related because we
yes,
share our spouses or our siblings. And so, we know what it's like when we bring our children over to the in-laws, right? And
yes, indeed.
yep, exactly. So,
Oh, it is. Yeah, yeah.
yep,
I
exactly.
think, I think, yeah, that we know each other a lot closer than I think most audiologists with their clients would. It's just like,
Yeah,
yeah, we could see those 6 grandkids all together and just,
there you go.
wow, yeah,
Yeah,
it's wild, wild
exactly.
times.
So good old me, mom, papa,
Oh, that's right.
huh?
So let's dig even deeper then. So is it both like going, okay, you're going to be in a crowded situation, you're going to be here, but like, how does that drill down to their communication needs or their
Yep,
treatment goals? Like, how do you
right.
even bring that into a finer detail when you're adjusting and looking at the hearing aids?
Absolutely. So, we use questionnaires a lot. And so there's gold standards of different questionnaires that we have available to us. And I think we'll get into a little more detail in one of the other best practices. But basically, how we're going to do that is, ahead of time, I'm doing what's called like a communication needs assessment with them, where I'm actually asking them to rate like their top three listening in situations where they struggle the most. And so we use that as sort of a basis to see improvement. And so that kind of helps us determine too what might be the best type of technology and how advanced a person might need for their individual situation.
And so really you get them set up and we're with number five, right? When we selected the
Yep.
hearing aid, we selected those features, what's
Yep.
going to meet the goals. Now, at one point does six come in, which is verifying the hearing aid performance and the parameters or parameters and
Parameters.
parameters and with the test box like and the pro so like
Yep.
yeah, let's
What
completely
is
get
all
into
that
number
jargon?
six.
Yes, absolutely. So this is more, think about this as like the objective measures of the equipment. So this is what we're doing kind of prior to fitting the hearing aid when it comes to the test box measures. So when we get a hearing aid in from repair, it gets shipped to us from the manufacturer. We hope that those hearing aids are in good standing condition. We would hope that, manufacturers are not going to send us broken equipment. But how often have we always been the exception of getting a package from Amazon and you open it up and the electronic or whatever you ordered is broken
Yes.
or it doesn't work and you go, darn. Now you hope that that's not the case, but it can happen. It's that small percent of things that are going to happen. The majority of the time, everything's going to be fine with that. And the majority of the time, our hearing aid manufacturers are probably sending us products that are going to come to us no problem. But we don't know that unless we put that hearing aid into what we call a test box equipment. And we have essentially three of those pieces of equipment in our office. And myself, my assistant especially, that's part of her job is when hearing aids come in, she unpacks it, she goes through, she makes sure it's the right hearing aids that we ordered for the patient based on the paperwork. And then she does what's called an electroacoustic analysis of that equipment. So there's a specification sheet that has all the specs of what this hearing aid is supposed to do, performance-wise, how much gain it's supposed to have, how much distortion the microphones have, all of these things. So we can actually, the frequency range, we can actually run this in a test box and we compare that to the spec sheet that we have to make sure that that hearing aid is actually performing without any issues according to the manufacturer spec. That is something, in my opinion, that should be done all the time because you never know when a hearing aid is not going to be performing right. And sometimes you can have a hearing aid not meet specification and still pass or sound good to the patient as part of our other testing that we do. But doing this is like just a really critical part of making sure that that equipment that that client or patient paid thousands of dollars for is actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. So that is something we do routinely. It's a best practice. It's to make sure. And occasionally we've had to send a hearing aid back because it didn't pass the specs. And when we notify our patient, they are so grateful to know that, we're sorry, but your fitting is going to have to be delayed. Here's why. And so that's part of what we do with that. So that's it. That's what the test box measure part is. The verification has to do with what we call probe mic or real ear measures. So that's after the hearing aid's a pass spec. We're in the fitting appointment. We're programming the hearing aid to the audiogram that we just did, that we talked about. And then we're making sure that the amount of amplification measured by the patient's ear canal size is actually producing the proper amount of amplification or gain at the different frequency response. And if it's not, I can make those adjustments in real time to make sure that soft sounds are audible, comfortable sounds are comfortable, and loud sounds are not too loud.
I mean, really, it's like this quality control that
It really is
that,
quality
that
control, yes.
yeah, that I would receive because again, somebody off the street, somebody who's not, trained professional, they're not going to know
Yeah,
even how to do this. And
yeah,
so I always like to touch base back to when we talk about the big box, right? And
yeah.
the over the counter. Is it them opening up a package and they program it and then give it to you and you go on your way? So with this, is this something that again with best practices that only really professional audiologists are doing or should be doing as a service to their clients?
with over-the-counter devices, absolutely, there's probably no test box measures done, and there's going to be no real ear verification because that class of hearing aids was designed to be a self-fitting option. So people that have, a mild hearing loss, either they had a hearing test to confirm it, or they just feel like they're not hearing as well. They can order a device, online or through a magazine or at the drugstore, or pick it up off the shelf, that type of thing. And then depending on the complexity of that device, sometimes there's some programming they can do through an app on their phone where they can, use earbuds like we're using and, listen for some beeps and then loosely program this device to fit that. But again, it's not measuring how much sound is actually going in that person's ear. And again, you're not verifying whether this hearing device is actually meeting specs of what it's supposed to do. So that's how the over the counter is. Now, when you go to big box stores where they sell hearing aids, they are supposed to by law, and again, this is either their state laws or a lot of times it's national law amongst all these big box stores across the nation, where they have to do some type of validation verification as well. So most of them are going to do real ear measures. Not all of them are probably going to do test box measures before the hearing aids are fit, but they're required to do, most of them required to do the real ear measures, but that doesn't mean they're actually programming and making adjustments on that information. They may just run it in the ear, check their little box, and again, it may not be optimally fit the way that it would be done through an independent audiologist or hearing instrument specialist. Unfortunately, though, too, real ear measures are not utilized as widely as they should, and only about 35 to 40% of audiologists in the US are actually doing real ear measures.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And even
amazing.
less are doing test box. So,
Wow. Well, again, right, this is what sets you apart and higher
yeah,
when we look at these things. Well, and honestly, I would almost think that it keeps the manufacturer on their toes to say, hey, we're not going to be accepting, hearing aids that are not passing these tests. So
that's
I'm even
right.
sure on their end they're having to score and reach for a higher quality or even better build quality because they need to know that hey, it's passing this because you are doing the uh, the 10 best practices. Okay, so part of that, and I think you may have touched base on it, the best fit, but it says like over amplifying or under amplifying. Can you kind of touch base on that?
Yeah, so that has to do with when we do real ear measures or probe mic measures. So that is actually using a piece of equipment. And so after we've programmed the hearing aids, we've turned them on, we've verified that the sound is comfortable, the sound is balanced between the two ears, that they're hearing very well. So that's our starting point. And then we use this equipment to help verify that the hearing aids are actually matching a set of targets. So whether it's a soft target for soft speech, medium target for conversational speech, and then making sure that loud sounds are not exceeding the ceiling of what that hearing aid can do. So that's where we're putting in a little kind of a probe microphone into the ear. We're putting the hearing aid in with that. We're playing like a sentence out of a speaker that's coming in that the hearing aid is picking up. And then based on that, it's actually showing on a graph how it's amplifying in that person's ear. So it's taken into account not only the microphone of the sound picking up, but also how much sound is going into that person's individual ear. Is it too much? Is it just right? And then I can shape the frequency response based on that. So that's why that's really, really important to do that when you're fitting hearing aids.
So that moves us right into best practice number 7. Now it says it's going to validate your treatment plan. Is this something like
Yep.
after everything's been tweaked, how do you validate it? Is this something that they come back to? Is this something that simple
Mhm.
email? So yeah, if we can dive into number 7.
Yeah. So that's going to be more of like when we're doing kind of our communication needs assessment at the beginning prior to fitting them with hearing aids. Again, we're going to establish maybe those 3 goals that they want to hear better in. And so let's say it's like they want to hear their grandchildren when they're in their home, sitting at the dining room table. Okay, we want to get very specific. And so let's say that that's an area where right now they really, really struggle to hear those softer, fast high pitched voices, right? So we want to say, okay, now with your hearing aids, so maybe at their 2 week follow-up appointment, okay, let's look at this goal. Let's look at your 3 goals. All right, how are you hearing your grandchildren now, this was an area that you identified where you were having difficulty. And we can rate it as, slightly better, much better, no better, exceptionally better, whatever. And so we just kind of use that again as sort of a tracking point, more of a kind of a subjective measure on how they feel that they're doing. Based on their results, we may make some changes, we may not. So that's just a way that we're doing that, like at their 2-week follow-up, and then we may check back with them in a month or 6 months. And again, just using that as kind of that baseline.
And that's kind of self-explanatory, right? It's
Yeah,
tweaking, it's
yeah,
really fine-tuning that adjustment,
yeah,
which brings us over to number 8, which is evaluate for the prescribed hearing assistive technology HAT. Um,
yeah,
and so, can you kind of describe this
yep,
and how does this tie
yeah.
into all the other steps?
Absolutely. So I always say, hearing aids are great, and hearing aids alone sometimes are not going to be able to help a person hear and understand speech in all their different environments, especially if, let's say, that when we're doing their speech testing or we're doing their hearing evaluation, that they have difficulty. Let's say that, if 100% is saying that you do hear and understand speech really well and quiet, but let's say that their score is 65, 66%. Okay. That means even in the best kind of environment with no other competing sound, they are going to have a difficulty understanding even general conversational speech. And then you get into noise, and let's say their speech and noise score was really challenging for them too. Let's say they have a lot of trouble with that. They may be in the need for an assistive technology, which would be like maybe a remote mic, something that they can give to a partner that they wear, either around their neck or put it on a table that delivers that signal nice and clear into those hearing
Mm.
aids. Or a table mic, something they can put on a dining table or somewhere where they have a group setting where it again brings in the signal nice and clear for them. Maybe a TV device, maybe they just need to hear that television much more clear. So those are all things that can definitely enhance the hearing aid technology that they have and make it easier for them to hear, and especially help us meet the goals that we've identified previously.
That's fascinating. I've never heard of this one where it's like, oh, you can have essentially a microphone on around your neck. And so is
Mhm.
that beaming directly into the hearing aid itself?
Yes, so that's going to be using either most often like a Bluetooth or Bluetooth low energy technology. Exactly. So streaming wirelessly from that device into the antenna essentially of the hearing aid. Yeah,
This just again shows that maybe one thing isn't the right answer for everybody.
that's
Um,
exactly right.
yeah,
Yep.
that's
And not everybody
fantastic.
wants to do that. Not everybody, sometimes those accessories are more or extra money too.
Yeah.
And not everybody wants to do that, or they think, well, I don't want to give this to somebody, or I don't want to have to use this extra piece of equipment. And that's fine. But then we just have to have a more realistic conversation then of, okay, then this is going to be the limits
Yes.
of what this technology can do for you when you're in these types of situations. So we have to have sometimes those hard conversations too.
Yeah. Well, and I do think it's part of our stubbornness as people, right?
Yep.
We don't
Right.
want to grow old. I mean, next year
Right.
I hit the big one, and I'm just like,
I
oh,
know. I already did this year.
yeah, I don't want to do that. It's just
Yeah.
like no, but it is what it is, and the realization is sometimes we need to allow our egos to fall and be able to accept, going, yeah, I probably do need hearing aids, or no, maybe my spouse does need to wear that so I can hear them better. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no,
Exactly.
I can understand those hard conversations. Um,
Absolutely.
how long is the evaluation? And like, are there certain periods that it goes through where you're able to evaluate this? Is it almost not instantaneous, but maybe that first month, first week? What's the duration
Yeah.
usually look like?
Yeah, so we kind of say, we have kind of a general protocol of when we're going to see patients back. So when we do the fitting appointment, we typically are going to schedule like a 2-week follow-up appointment to check in with them, see how things are. From there, depending on how they're doing, we may schedule them to come see us back like in a 1 month interval to kind of again check settings, go over their goals, answer any questions, that type of thing we might need. And then from there, we may schedule that out to like 3 months where we do like a routine maintenance along with a follow up, and then 6 months where we do some aided speech testing with those hearing aids, and then a year after that. And then in between that, we're scheduling maintenance appointments, usually every 4 months or so, to have them come in where we do a real thorough cleaning and evaluation of those hearing instruments to make sure everything's working properly.
And so, which brings us to number nine, which is I'm assuming, I always think of it as like it's the part that most people, they don't want to see because it's like, oh, hey, this is the itemizing of your fees.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and so, yeah, so it's like, okay, so we've done all of this, right? The customer
Yep.
service, the adjustment, really getting in there and fine tuning this.
Yep.
And so, if you would want to talk about
Yep.
how the itemizing goes and what it looks like for
Yep.
somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of depends too what type of model you're running in your practice, whether you are more of an unbundled type practice or whether you're a bundled practice. And so bundled simply means that the hearing aids and all the services for either 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, whatever you decide to do is all one price. So you're on the contract, you've got these two hearing aids which have a line item and the cost is everything built in with that. So that's kind of how we do things, but we also have what we call our service plan that itemizes exactly what they're getting for that cost. So in other words, we always explain this is the total cost for the hearing aids and all these services, and here's a list of all the services that you're getting for this period of time that we've selected. So that's kind of how we do it. There are other practices where they actually specify it, like the hearing aids cost this amount, and then you have the fitting fee, and then you have the verification, and then you have the maintenance, and then you have all of these follow-up appointments. So they line everything out step by step by step. And that's great too. And no way is wrong to do it. It's just a matter of how each practice is doing their pricing model. That's really what it comes down to. As long as you're being transparent, I think, and patients understand what they're paying for, then that's fine.
Is this all at the end that they're getting this? Is this kind of like maybe more? I mean, it's number nine on the best practices, but it's not
Right,
necessarily going in order.
right, right.
When can a client receive that, expect that, or even get an idea of this?
Yeah. So initially, they're going to see what the total cost is when they order the hearing aids. When we've made the decision to go ahead and proceed with hearing treatment, and we're going to have them sign an initial purchase contract, and that's by law. So we're going to have them show them exactly what the hearing aids cost and what the total is for everything, and then we're kind of explaining what this entails. And then we always say, okay, then at your fitting appointment, you're going to get a secondary contract that's also going to show again your serial numbers, your warranty, all that kind of stuff is still going to have the same pricing, but then you're going to have what we call that service plan, which is going to have those broken down line items showing you everything that's included with the price that you're paying for these hearing devices and treatment.
What is the longevity? So I look and again, I kind of treat hearing aids like, oh, it's a piece of technology, right? Because
Right.
it's always advancing. And I'm sure this is different for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Some people like the latest phone and they do a
Yep.
monthly contract, and no matter what, they
Yep.
trade in that phone and they get the new one, and it doesn't matter because they're always
Exactly.
paying monthly, right? Or
Yeah.
like I'm on the other spectrum where I buy a phone and I'm now 5 years in and this thing still shoots
Yeah.
4K. It still is a
Yep.
great phone. I have not filled up the hard
Yep.
drive. Um, and so a lot of times I'll apply technology like hearing aids similar to a phone.
Yep.
What
Yeah.
is the longevity of a hearing aid like this? Because
Hearing
for me,
aid.
this falls into best practice. Like, okay, this
It
is the
really
amount of money
does.
I'm spending. What's the longevity am I getting, going out, and how long can I have these? And on average,
Exactly.
about how long do they last?
I always tell people they can expect probably about 5 to 7 years for most hearing aids. And that has to do with the fact that, like you said, hearing aid technology is kind of on about an 18-month cycle with most manufacturers. So they're usually coming out with something new every 18 months or so. Sometimes they're coming out with a new form factor, just a new looking style. Sometimes they're coming out with a brand new chip and brand new product. So it just kind of depends on that. So we've always got something new. So it's similar to phones, that's going to be the type of thing. And I'm kind of the same way. I sometimes keep my phones a lot longer too before I can't use them anymore. But that brings up a great question because we are starting to go to in some cases where some practices are doing what's kind of like almost a monthly subscription basis where they're saying, okay, every 3 years you can upgrade to the latest technology and you're paying a monthly fee for that. So essentially, you're renting your hearing aids or leasing your hearing aids forever. You just have that
Mhm.
constant monthly payment. Um, I haven't quite gotten to that yet, but right now, we're using pretty much once you pay for that, there you go. And so then at the end, I always start having a conversation with people at about 3 to 4 years and saying, here's the warranty is going to be up. Here's something to consider. We can go ahead, keep working on these. We can do a service contract, or, there is newer technology. You kind of express this is an important feature. This new product has this feature. Maybe we can do a demonstration and see if you notice a benefit. So that's kind of, how I look at it as well.
Well, that is interesting that that model is being adopted because it seems like that
Yeah.
model just in general across all facets is being adopted, right? It started with phones,
Yeah.
but
And now
then
it's with cars. You see it with cars. It's been with cars
exactly.
for a very long time. And when we're starting to ask people now, for spending, thousands of dollars, sometimes five, six, or $7,000 for hearing treatment, not everybody's going to have that amount of cash ready to go,
Yeah.
without having to dip into something. So if we can, get monthly payments either through like, something like Care Credit or something like that for health, healthcare expenses or some type of leasing program, I think that's something that we're going to see evolving more and more in our industry too, just as the generations coming up too are not going to have as much discretionary income as what we've seen with the previous generations as well.
Well, and I hate to say it, but we're almost being trained to
Yeah,
live off payments, right? Cars,
right. Yep.
phones, our streaming, our
Mortgage,
entertainment, it's all
rent.
rented, right? Our music.
Yeah,
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 it's we were definitely being trained
exactly.
and it does allow us to live a better quality of life by
Absolutely.
stretching out our budget that way and being able to do an easier monthly plan and a
Yeah,
payment. So I guess
absolutely.
that brings us to number 10 and our final one, but
Yeah.
which is the
Yep.
providing the post-fitting AR. Now, when I see AR, I think of
Mhm.
aggregated reality. What is AR? What
Yep.
are the AR services?
Right. So that stands for aural with an A rehab. So that's meaning hearing, hearing rehabilitation basically is what I like to put it as. So in all of my literature, I always say hearing rehabilitation because no one understands what aural rehabilitation is, not really. So that's just again, think about like any type of thing that you're retraining your body to do. So when you have, let's say you get a knee surgery, you have to retrain, you go through physical therapy to retrain that knee how to work properly or that hip how to work properly. Or, you break an arm or something like that. Sometimes you have to have some physical therapy to relearn how to do those things. Well, when you're losing a sense like hearing, it happens so gradually that you have to relearn how to hear certain things again that you're all of a sudden getting back. And so hearing rehabilitation is super important. And that's where we're getting more into doing some auditory training specifically for our patients where we're going back to the basics and we're going to take these phonemes just like what you learned in phonics when you were in kindergarten and first grade and we're going to talk about these sounds and words and we're going to just train and we can have lists of words that they can work on together at home with a communication partner, or we can say, okay, this is how there's some online programs that I give them, and this is like some speech training exercises where you can go on your computer and they'll give you some sentences that you repeat back and they get more difficult and they add noise and it kind of walks you through that process so that you are seeing that progress of areas where you're not doing as well and areas where you can improve. And so it's really important to understand that the hearing aids are only as good as the brain's ability to interpret and understand that information. And sometimes we have to have help to get us to that point where we can make those improvements.
Hearing therapy, much like physical therapy. And I love the way you
Yep,
put that because it really is retraining, especially when
absolutely.
we spoke about the sound and how we imagine that it's going to be the same sound, but it's not the
Yeah.
same sound,
It's really not. It's really not. And if a person has been, if they've been living with hearing loss for a few decades, they don't realize how badly they're missing out on those sounds or how incorrectly they're hearing those sounds. And then all of a sudden we give them that sound back, and it sounds really foreign. It sounds really strange. Most people say it sounds really harsh or tinny or robotic. That's just part of that broken ear system that is hearing those sounds that's being stimulated again. It doesn't know what to do with it. So we've got to retrain or tell the brain, okay, this is now what an S is going to sound like. And this is how these sounds are going to be from now on. And so it's just kind of saying, all right, this doesn't sound right, but I'm understanding. Okay, that's what we got to do. Yeah.
So that does bring us to the end of the podcast. So this was number
Right.
5 through 10, and again, this time just flew by.
It
Um,
sure did.
yeah, it really did. And so yeah, I'm getting the notifications from Zoom saying, "Hey, your time is running out." So okay, so Dr. Moore, you are amazing for sharing this, and thank you so much. But you're also moving
Yes.
locations in Tucson. You're not moving out of Tucson.
Yes.
You're moving
Nope.
locations in Tucson. So do you want to kind of just, we got like 8 minutes left. Do you want to touch
Oh,
base on
okay.
how that's going?
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, definitely. So, a few months ago, I decided our lease was going to be up, and I had to make a decision whether we were going to stay put and do some improvements at our current space because, we needed to update some flooring, paint some walls, re kind of organize some things. And so, I looked at the space and I kind of looked at, what rents were going to be, what my goals were, what I wanted to do, and I started thinking, well, maybe I want to just kind of start from scratch and maybe see if a different location might be better for the goals that I have for what I want this practice to look like and be there available for my patients. So um, we found a space actually about a mile east of where we currently are. And it's in a nice professional plaza. So there's lots of other medical professionals, lawyers, other businesses that are in there. And we found a space that was a little smaller than what we have right now, but much more usable. And they were willing to build it out to our specs so that we can have it designed exactly the way we want. And so I went ahead and decided that that was probably going to be the right move. It's going to save us a little bit on rent, which is always a good thing because then we can pass that savings on to our customers as well. And so, yeah, we're getting ready to move. I went ahead and signed the new lease, and yeah, so we're going to be moving next month. And I've been monitoring all of the changes and developments that have been going on in the new space. I've been over there a few times and kind of seeing how things are building. Right now, everything is coming together. All the walls are up, all the stuff's good. They're just, I got to see the booths being built. It's really cool. So it's coming along really well, and it's going to allow us, I think, to have a facility that's going to be better in line of the best practices and the type of quality care that we want to bring to our patients as well as people in Tucson that need quality hearing health care and are looking for something that is not just the product itself, but also the service behind that sale. So that's why we're doing that. And it's going to be fun and it's going to be stressful all in one. And moving is never easy, and things always cost more than you think they're going to cost. But you gotta go through it, and we're going to deal with it, and we're making it work, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think we're super excited. Parking wise, it's going to be much easier, I think, to get in. It's away from the busy street as much, and so it's a beautiful, beautiful area, beautifully landscaped, beautifully maintained, and I think it just is going to really speak to what we want to do as far as how we want to treat our customers in the future.
Fantastic. And so, Dr. Barr, what is the new address and the official move,
Move
opening
opening,
the move, yeah, however we want
right?
to word that, the move date, the grand
The
opening.
grand reopening. Here we are. We've been shut down for a week and now we're open again day.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're actually going to be, moving. We're going to be shut down on the 12th of September, and that's the day that we're going to be prepping everything. We're going to move on a Saturday, like all of our furniture and things like that. And then that following week, which will be like September 15th through the 19th, we're going to be just setting everything up, getting the phones set up, the computer set up, all the equipment, make sure everything's working. So we're going to be shut down for that time. And then we are reopening on September 22nd for patients on that day. That's going to be our new opening day. And our address will be 5977 East Grant Road, Suite 115B. And so where we are right now is 5625 East Grant. So again, it's about a mile, same side of the road. So that's the nice thing. We didn't change the name of the street, and we're not changing the phone number. We're not changing the fax number. We're not changing our emails, and we're not changing our website, just the location.
Awesome. And so, and really, it's like an extra 10 minutes away, 15 minutes away, depending on how fast your clients drive.
Yeah, right. For me, it's going to be probably about 5 minutes closer coming
Oh,
from
nice.
from my home. So that's going to be significant, for me. And from office to office, it's like maybe 2 or 3 minutes.
Oh,
So
there you go. There you go.
yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, well, viewer, thank you again for your time, and I hope that the 10 best practices helps you. And even if you're an existing client, or if you're just looking for hearing aids for the first time, this kind of gives you a list of things to ask for, right? And if you don't live in Tucson, if you live in California, if you live in New York, this gives you a list of, hey, I should be asking these questions. And if you are in Tucson and your audiologist can't answer these questions, or they can't say that, hey, we do the 10 best practices, well, find Dr. Moore at sonorahearingcare.com. And Dr. Moore, anything else that you would like to plug, or how would you like to close this out?
Yeah, I just think this is great. I mean, we're here for everybody, and we want to be, your hearing care provider. So we will, gladly take you on as a client if that's what you're looking for. And we look forward to helping you or a loved one with your hearing care needs.